Hey, everybody, welcome to the Not Move podcast. Hope everybody's having a great day. We're going to be talking about some professional baseball today. Before we get started, I just want to say that some of the information that I talk about may not be 100% accurate. For instance, maybe when I looked earlier this morning, I saw that a bullpen ERA was ranked second. But then once it updated, it may rank it as fourth now after I looked at it. So sometimes whenever I do these early shows, that can happen from time to time. But the information that I do talk about should get us at least in that general ballpark that we need to be in. Okay. All right. Well, the first thing that I like to do is talk about weather. The two sources that I really like to use are rotogrinders.com for MLB weather and then swishanalytics.com. So let's look at rotogrinders.com real quick and see what's going on in the weather world today for baseball. Toronto at Cincinnati, a few showers around, though it looks like most of that holds a bit south, is what they're saying. They expect it to be fine, but you may want to check the pregame radar before that game starts. Seattle at Tampa Bay Rays, a few storms around, uh, low chance of a delay. Atlanta and Chicago Cubs, winds are very gently blowing in from right, is what they're saying, at 5 miles per hour. And then the White Sox at Minnesota. Um, It looks like that this is probably the game to look out for. Looks like some sort of a delay is looking likely to happen, and they're not going to rule out a postpone for this game. So definitely want to check into that game if you're interested in it. White Sox and Minnesota. Then let's check to see if there's any huge wins today at any of these fields. Looks like things are pretty calm for the most part. I don't really see any significant wins. All right, so let's dive into it. New York Mets at Detroit Tigers. The Mets are 1-0 against Detroit this season. Um, the Mets have a 2-7 win-loss record in Tuesday road games, and Detroit has an 8-2 win-loss record in Tuesday home games. Today is also Kerry Carpenter's birthday. So Detroit may be playing with an extra chip on their shoulders for Kerry in his birthday today. This is a good home run park, from my understanding. I like to use baseballsavant.com for that information, as you guys probably know by now. But in case this is your first time tuning in, baseballsavant.com is a source that I like to use to see which ballparks are favorable to left-handed and or right-handed batters. So for right-handed batters, this ballpark ranks eighth best. For left-handed hitters, this park ranks fifth best for home runs. They have their own criteria. You may find something different on another source, um, but if you look at the top, it'll show you what they're really looking at. Um, Anyways, let's look at these run line trends. The most favorable run line trend that I see is that the Mets, as a road favorite, rank 12th best in baseball on that run line. Excuse me. And then Detroit, after a loss, ranks 25th in baseball on that run line. The projected starting pitchers today: McLean versus Gibson Long. Both are right-handed pitchers. McLean hasn't pitched against Detroit this season. The Mets have a 1-0 win-loss record on the road with McLean. They won that game by exactly 5 runs. He hasn't pitched against the Tigers throughout his short career. His average pitch count's been 93 this season, 93 in his last 5. I'm seeing that he's worse against left-handed hitters' batting average, but it is a small sample size. And then slightly worse versus right-handed hitting home runs. His walks per 9 innings and home runs per 9 innings are not high, but once again, we have a small sample size to work with McLean. And when I say small sample size, what I mean is we don't have a lot of data to look at, current data, or even historical data with this pitcher for the Mets today. So when I'm looking for possibly a home run hitter here, we did mention that he's slightly worse against right-handed hitting home runs. So he's only faced 40 left-handed hitting batters and then 33 right-handed hitting batters, according to rotowire.com. And he's only allowed 1 home run to a right-handed hitter. All right. So we can look to see real quick who on this Detroit Tigers team. Now, if you wanted to go with the left-handed hitter today for a home run, I could understand that too. But and I also just want to note that both of these bullpen ERAs are about average. The Mets rank 14th, Detroit ranks 15th. All right. So, Detroit Tigers. McLean's most used pitch this season has been that 29% used sweeper. So I'm looking at baseballsolvent.com. I'm filtering this by slugging percentage against that sweeper for the Tigers. All right. And there's 5 guys that I'm looking at on the Tigers right now that have a solid batting average against right-handed pitching. Riley Green is on the top of that list. He's batting 290 against right-handed pitchers. And against that sweeper, he's slugging 667, which is great, off of that sweeper. Okay, so if you're thinking Riley Green today, home run, you got that going for you. Kerry Carpenter, slugging 500. We talked about how today's his birthday. He's slugging 500. It could be a little bit better, but it's not terrible. It's pretty solid, right? All right. So let's filter this by his next most used pitch, the sinker. He uses that pitch 26% of the time. Kerry Carpenter slugging that at 737, whereas Riley Green's only slugging that at a 378. Who else is slugging pretty decently? Dingler, 609. 609 slugging off that sinker. And then let's look at one more pitch. The third most used pitch that McLean has had this season, which is the 18% used curveball. Riley Green, 605. Carpenter, 405. So for me, it'd be between Riley Green and Kerry Carpenter. How likely is it that Kerry Carpenter hits a home run on his birthday? I don't know. You can be the decider of that. But I really do like how Carpenter's slugging that sinker. I would probably have to lean towards Carpenter getting a home run, and then I would also maybe look at Riley Green for the Tigers. All right, so Gibson Long, right-handed pitcher for Detroit today, hasn't pitched against the Mets this season. Detroit is winless at home with Gibson Long pitching this season. They are 0-2. They lost both of those games by 3+ runs. He hasn't pitched against the Mets throughout his short career. His average pitch count has been 54 in his last 5 games. We talked about how Detroit's bullpen ranks 15th in bullpen ERA. Let's say Detroit ranked 30th in bullpen ERA, then I would be pretty concerned about Gibson Long's lack of pitch count. But since this bullpen is about average, I'm a little less concerned. But it is still, something to look at. Basically, what I'm saying is it looks like Detroit Tigers are going to have to utilize their 15th ranked bullpen ERA before the Mets do. Before the Mets utilize their 14th ranked bullpen ERA. I'm seeing that Gibson Long is much worse versus right-handed hitting batting average. But once again, we're working with a small sample size with this guy as well. And then worse, I'm seeing worse versus right-handed hitting home runs, small sample size. He has a higher home runs per 9 inning average than McLean does. So just based on that average alone, once again, we're working with two small sample sizes here, but um, seeing that it's maybe a little bit more likely that the Mets hit a home run today against Detroit than the other way around. So let's look at the Mets a little bit here and how they match up against the four-seam fastball, which is Gibson Long's most used pitch this season. It's at 29%. Juan Soto slugging 678 off that pitch. Alonso, who leads this team in batting average against right-handed pitching. Alonso batting 607 or slugging 607, which is good. Off that four seam. McNeil, 593 slugging. And those are the top guys. And then Lindor, 543 slugging. All right, let's look at that second pitch. So he actually it looks like he throws this changeup and the slider about the same percentage, about 21%. Nimmo, 771, slugging off the change. And you may want to see if these guys have any history off this guy, but I don't think they do. Soto slugging 548 off of this pitch. I'm pretty sure Soto's pretty hot right now, Alonso 422 off the change. And let's look into this slider real quick. Alonso 482. So nobody's slugging the slider at a great rate here. What about the sinker? Alonso. I mean, I would be looking probably at Soto and Nimmo. Soto and Nimmo. And if you like Alonso today, I could see that happening. Now, we did say he's worse against right-handed hitting home runs, right-handed hitters, right? And same with McLean. Um, both small sample sizes, though. So I guess let me lean towards Alonso here. And I think Carpenter and Green, just backtracking a little bit, Carpenter and Green are both left-handed hitters. So if you were thinking maybe like Dingler, I could see that happening too. All right, but let's get into the game prediction here. I think this is pretty evenly matched here. Detroit is the home underdog. There's 5 bats that I like for Detroit today. 5 bats that I'm liking for the Mets today. Detroit is winless at home. Small sample size, 0-2 at home with Gibson Long, but they're 8-2 in Tuesday home games. I'm thinking Detroit has to use their bullpen a little bit more today. I think the Mets have a base stealing advantage just because Detroit steals the least amount of bases per game this season, and the Mets are good at base stealing prevention. Now Detroit's good at base stealing prevention too. Um, I'm just gonna have to lean towards the underdog in this one because I really think it's pretty evenly matched here. So let me just lean towards Detroit plus 1.5 in this one. I do like the fact that they're 8-2 in Tuesday home games. Mets are 2-7 in Tuesday road games. Um, and I like their bats and how they match up against the right-handed McLean. But I also like the Mets just about the same, and their bats. This is just an even matchup here. If you were thinking about going with the Mets, I don't see anything that makes me want to say, "Hold up, wait a minute." Um, so, but yeah, I would just have to lean towards Detroit plus 1.5 as of right now. All right, we still have starting lineups and stuff that are not out yet. All right, all right. Let's look in this next game. Toronto and Cincinnati. When I was looking this morning, I saw that this line was really close, and it still is. At the book I'm looking at, they have Cincinnati as a home favorite and Toronto as a road dog. All right. Run line trends. That's what I want to look at. Run line trends as a home favorite for Cincinnati. Something that I want to look at real quick. Cincinnati is near the bottom of the league as a home favorite. And then Toronto as a road underdog. Toronto as a road underdog is a slightly above average on that run line. Toronto is also ranked better on the run line after a loss than Cincinnati is after a win. Cincinnati is 1-0 against Toronto this season, win-loss record. Toronto has a 6-5 win-loss record in Tuesday road games. Cincinnati has a 4-4 win-loss record in Tuesday home games. We got Barrios versus Lodolo. This is the projected pitching matchup today. The lineups are not confirmed, okay? Um, Barrios, right-handed pitcher, projected pitcher for Toronto today, hasn't pitched against Cincinnati this season. Toronto has a 10-4 win-loss record on the road with Barrios this season. They won six out of 10 of those games by 2+ runs. The other 4 games that they won on the road with Barrios, they won by exactly 1 run. They lost 3 out of the 4 games that they lost on the road with Barrios by 2+ runs. The other game they lost by exactly 1. Teams that Barrios has pitched for have a 1-2 win-loss record against Cincinnati when he's pitched against them throughout his career. His average pitch count is 83 in his last 5 games, 86 for the season. Bullpens, I'd give Cincinnati just a slight advantage in regard to bullpen ERA. But, if Cincinnati used somebody or a couple of guys yesterday, that are good. Maybe they don't play today, and they have some other guys coming in. I'll let you kind of dive into the bullpen if you want to do that, which I think is super important. But I only have so much time that I can look into things. Um, so I'm seeing that Barrios is slightly worse against right-handed hitters in regards to batting average. Also, he's worse against right-handed hitters hitting home runs off of him. And I know just from the top of my head, this is a pretty decent home run park. It ranks fourth on baseballsavant.com for right-handed hitters hitting home runs. And then let's check for left-handed hitters. It ranks 20th. So I would be, if I were interested in making a home run pick on this one, I'd probably be looking for a right-handed hitter um, for either one of these ball clubs, because both of these pitchers are worse against right-handed hitters hitting home runs off of them. What I will say though is that Barrios he's allowing more home runs per 9 innings than Lodolo is. Also, Toronto's bullpen ERA is slightly worse than Cincinnati's. Toronto's ranked 17th. Once again, Cincinnati's ranks 13th. So, anyways, walks per 9 innings. For Barrios doesn't look alarming. It is getting close to that 3.5 threshold. Cincinnati also ranks 10th best in team walks drawn per game. Cincinnati's a pretty decent base stealing team. Toronto as a team are above average at base stealing prevention, but Barrios looks like he's pretty good at keeping base runners where they're at, unless the ball's hit, right? So like pickoff moves, wild pitches, things like that. Uh, Barrios looks like he does a great job at containing, uh, you know, base runners from advancing. So Lodolo, left-handed pitcher, hasn't pitched against Toronto this season. Cincinnati 7-4 win-loss at home with Lodolo this season. They won 4 of those games by 2+ runs. They won 3 games by two, or they lost 3 out of the 4 games that they lost at home with Lodolo. Lodolo, they lost 3 games by 2+ runs. He hasn't pitched against Toronto throughout his career. Average pitch count has been 79 in his last 5, 88 throughout the season. Much worse versus left-handed hitters hitting the ball off of him in regards to batting average, but much worse against right-handed hitters hitting home runs. Um, Toronto is not a speedy team. They rank 26 in stolen bases per game. So I'm not too concerned about Toronto stealing a bunch of bags off of Lodolo. All right. So let's make a prediction on this game and then maybe look at a home run hitter for each of these teams. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Another even matchup here. Um, I like Toronto's run line trends more than I like Cincinnati's. I like Toronto's record in Tuesday road games more than Cincinnati's Tuesday home game record. I like Toronto's record on the road with Barrios more than Cincinnati's record at home with Lodolo. Average pitch count looks like both of these bullpens will be coming in around similar times. Um, I like the fact that Toronto has 3 guys with a better batting average: Clement, Vladimir Guerrero Jr., and Bichette. Those 3 guys have a better batting average off of left-handed pitching than the top guy for Cincinnati against right-handed pitching, which is Marte. He's batting 293, Marte, against right-handed pitching. But Clement, Vladimir Guerrero, and Bichette are batting uh, 294 or better against left-handed pitching. And this line should be close. Right now, they got Toronto as the underdog. That's the side I'm liking in this one. So lean is Toronto plus 1.5 for that one. Okay. There weren't too many home run parks that I wanted to dive into today, but I do want to look at this one a little bit, just specifically for right-handed hitters. Okay. Um, so let's look at Cincinnati first. Okay. Okay. Toronto. Okay, I'm looking at Cincinnati. So Barrios, 32% of the time throws a sinker, which is his most used pitch. Austin Hayes, Marte, slugging 569 off that sinker. Trevino, 500. What about the next pitch? The slurve. Slurve. There's not a lot of history against the slurve for the Cincinnati Reds team. What about that third most used pitch, the 19% four seam fastball? De La Cruz. I think I'm interested in uh, and Trevino isn't slugging that great. I'd be interested in Marte. And then you could also go to swishanalytics.com and look to see if there's any good history between Marte and Barrios. Marte has only 3 at bats against him, but he's batting 667 off him, so he has 2 hits, 2 singles, not a home run yet. There's very little history for this Cincinnati Reds team, except for Andujar, who's not projected to be in the starting lineup today. And then another guy I was looking at was Trevino, right? But he has 10 plate appearances, 8 at bats against Barrios, and doesn't have a hit off of him. So yeah, I would be leaning towards Marte. And then against Lodolo, I'm just looking at the history real quick. Doesn't look like anybody has a home run off of Lodolo. Uh, there's not a lot of history for this Toronto Blue Jays team against Lodolo. But I'd be looking for a right-handed batter. So let's go filter this Toronto Blue Jays against that curveball, which is Lodolo's most used pitch of the season. It's at 29%. Vladimir Guerrero batting slugging 654, which is great off that curve. And then Schneider, 556 slugging percentage. And then Bichette, 488. I'm looking for guys really with 500 or higher for the most part. And what's the second most used pitch? The 28% four seam fastball. Vladimir Guerrero, 557. What about Schneider, 417? I think it's just going to be Vladimir Guerrero for me. I know it's a little chalky, but uh, that's a side I would have to lean with. And then I guess Schneider. But really, if you're interested in Vladimir Guerrero, that's the way I'd be looking at. All right, and then we already said I was leaning towards Toronto plus 1.5 since they're technically underdogs right now on the book that I'm looking at. So let's move on to the next game. Dodgers at Pittsburgh. Both of these teams were off yesterday. The Dodgers have a 2-1 record against Pittsburgh this season. I didn't look into the Tuesday home games and Tuesday away game trends for this game, but if you think that's important, um, and I think anything's important, but my apologies, I don't have that for this game. Okay, maybe not for any other games from here on out. Okay. Um, so I do want to look at the run line trends after one day off for both of these teams. So the Dodgers rank sixth best on the run line after one day off. And then Pittsburgh, 30, 29, 28, 27, 25, 24, 23, 22, 21st. Pittsburgh ranks 21st on the run line after one day off. So just in that regard, the Dodgers have an advantage. Now, Pittsburgh does rank 10th best as a home underdog. The Dodgers at the Dodgers rank 22nd on the run line as a road favorite. Then after a win, they rank 25th on the run line. So I would say more favorable run line trends are with Pittsburgh today. But the most favorable run line trend that I see is that the Dodgers are sixth best on the run line after one day off. But the Dodgers also have the worst run line trend that I see. They rank 25th after a win on that run line. So I think that run line trend's pretty much a wash. But let's look into these pitchers a little bit. Kershaw is projected to be the left-handed pitcher here today against Bubba Chandler, right-handed pitcher. Looks like he's projected to start here. I'm also seeing Mlodzinski. Which I don't. Majinski. Excuse me, Majinski. Yeah, Majinski. What a name. Um, so RotoWire.com has Bubba Chandler projected to be in this game at some point, and that's kind of the guy that I was looking at. I don't know a whole lot about Majinski. Obviously, I don't know how to even pronounce his name, but let's look at Kershaw a little bit here, okay? Um, Kershaw, left-handed pitcher here today for the Dodgers, hasn't pitched against Pittsburgh this season. The Dodgers have a 5-3 win-loss record on the road with Kershaw. They won all of those games by 2+ runs. They also lost every game on the road with Kershaw by 2+ runs. So um, Kershaw has pitched on the road 8 times this season. All 8 of those games were decided by 2+ runs. The Dodgers they have a 3-4 win-loss record against Pittsburgh when Kershaw has pitched against them throughout his career. Average pitch count for Kershaw has been 79 in his last 5, 75 this season. I'm not going to be talking about home runs this game, but he is worse against left-handed hitters hitting the ball off of him in regards to batting average, and then worse against right-handed hitters hitting home runs. His walks per 9 innings average and home runs per 9 innings average is not a cause for concern. Now Chandler, I don't know as much about this Pittsburgh Pirates pitching staff today. Okay, but I was looking into this Bubba Chandler guy. Hasn't pitched against the Dodgers this season. Pittsburgh has a 1-0 win-loss record at home with Chandler this season. They won that game by exactly 9 runs. He hasn't pitched against the Dodgers throughout his short career. Very small sample size with this guy. So 47's been his average pitch count. Um, and really just not a lot of information about who Pittsburgh's going to be using today. Let me see if I can find anything on Majinski real quick. I'm just kind of trying to get a feel for how long he's going to be in this game. It looks like the longest he's gone this season is 5.2 innings. So he's capable of, in regards to pitch count, it looks like hanging with Kershaw. Both of these bullpen ERAs are about the same. I would give a slight edge to Pittsburgh. They rank 16th. The Dodgers rank 19th. Majinski hasn't pitched against the Dodgers this season. Um, and then overall, I like the batting averages for the Dodgers against the right-handed pitcher Chandler. Also Majinski pitches with his right hand as well. So that's important to look at. So I'm seeing 5 guys for the Dodgers that are projected to play right now that I like in regards to batting average. And then Will Smith and Freddie Freeman are batting 305, both of them 305 when I looked this morning against right-handed pitching. Whereas the top guy uh, that's projected to start today is McCutchen against left-handed pitching in regards to batting average, 284, and then Triolo, 267. And then when I'm looking at, I want to see if I can find net bases prevented for Majinski real quick. I'm probably leaning towards the Dodgers in this one. MLOD. Majimski, he has a good net spaces prevented number here. It's at 4. But the Dodgers are not the most speedy team. Kershaw's net bases prevented is pretty decent as well. I'm just gonna have to lean towards the Dodgers in this one. They're playing for something. That's something also worth looking at from here on out is who really needs a win, who's not really playing for much. There's not many games left. Pittsburgh, they're pretty much out of it, and the Dodgers, they're playing for the division. So, not it's not just that's that's not the only reason why I like the Dodgers here today, but some of the other things that we talked about. So I'd be leaning towards. I'm sure Dodgers are favored, right? Yeah, Dodgers minus 1.5. All right. Cleveland at Boston. Boston has a 3-1 win loss record against Cleveland this season. The most favorable run line trend that I see is that Cleveland ranks 6th on the run line as a road underdog. And then the worst run line trend that I see is that Cleveland ranks 21st after a loss. So that's kind of a wash there. We got Saccone, projected right-handed pitcher for Cleveland today, versus Crochet, projected pitcher for Boston, left-handed pitcher. Let's look at Saccone a little bit here. Saccone hasn't pitched against Boston this season. Cleveland has a 5-4 record on the road with Saccone. They won 3 of those games by 2+ runs. They lost 3 out of 4 of the games that they lost on the road with Saccone. They lost by 2+ runs. He's never pitched against Boston throughout his career. 92 has been his average pitch count in the last 5 games. I'm not going to be talking about home runs in this game, but if you do like a left-handed hitter today, for Boston to hit a home run, I could very well see that. Um, Simply because Sacconi's worse against left-handed hitters hitting home runs off of him. Also, Sacconi's home runs per 9 inning average is pretty high. It's at 1.8, according to RotoWire.com. Okay. Um, and then Crochet, left-handed pitcher, hasn't pitched against Cleveland this season. Boston 6-6 win-loss at home with Crochet this season. They won only 3 out of 6 of those games by 2+ runs. They lost 4 out of the 6 games that they did lose at home with Crochet by 2+ runs. Teams that Crochet has pitched for have a 5-7 win-loss record against Cleveland when Crochet has pitched against them throughout his career. 97's been his average pitch count in his last 5, 99 throughout the season. I'm seeing that he's worse against right-handed hitters hitting the ball off of him in regards to batting average, and then worse versus right-handed hitters hitting home runs off of him. He's not allowing a ton of home runs per 9 innings. It's at 0.8, which is good. He's not allowing a whole lot of walks either. Um, what I will say is that looks like he's been allowing some guys to steal off of him. His net bases prevented numbers at -7, and Cleveland is above average at stealing bases this season, and Boston is below average at base stealing prevention. So I do think Cleveland has a base stealing advantage in this game. Now, on the other side, Boston is a better base stealing team. Cleveland is slightly better at base stealing prevention, but Saccone, his net bases prevented number is at 2. So, um, I think people might look at that and think Boston has a base stealing advantage, right? Because they rank 6th in stolen bases per game, whereas Cleveland ranks 12th. But I think with the pitchers that are on the mound today, I think it's closer than expected. Um, Now I do like the bats for Boston more today in regards to batting average more than I like Cleveland's. Um, Boston, man, they look like a big favorite. Is that right? I think if you were thinking about playing Cleveland today, I think this could be a sneaky spot. I'm gonna lean towards Boston on that run line, but I would not be surprised if Cleveland kept this game close or possibly won the game. And I think it's all about starting lineups, right? Um, I really kind of want to lean towards Cleveland in this one, but there are, Anthony, Duran, Bregman, Story, and Rafaela are batting 257 or better against right-handed pitching, whereas Cleveland only has 3 guys that are batting 257 or better against left-handed pitching: Ramirez, Martinez, and Kwan. Base stealing advantage. Why would I mean? That's the only reason why I'd be going with Boston. Okay, to be completely honest with you. You know what? I'm not going to change my mind. I'm going to leave it where it's at. Boston on the run line -1.5. But man, if you like Cleveland today, don't let me steer you away. All right, let's move on. Miami and Washington. Miami has a 5-2 win-loss record against Washington this season. This line is also close, but it looks like Washington. At the book that I'm looking at, is a home favorite. Home favorite. So Washington on the run line, they are bad as a road favorite, okay, or as a home favorite. Excuse me. Washington is the worst team in baseball. Uh, they've only they're 1-10 on that run line as a home favorite. So I'd keep an eye out for that. And then as a road underdog, Miami is above average. They rank ninth best in baseball. Miami also ranks fourth best on the run line after a loss, whereas Washington, after a win, ranks 16th on that run line. Major right-handed pitcher today is projected to pitch for Miami versus Cavalli, right-handed pitcher. The pitcher for Miami, Major, pitched at. Why do I have this? Let me look at something real quick. Okay, so we don't need that. Had a typo here. I look at a lot a lot of numbers and stuff, so typos. I don't see them often, but I do have them from time to time. Okay. So Miami has a 1-0 record on the road with Major this season. Seeing his average pitch count. Average pitch count is 79 this season. And then Cavalli's at 86. I think it's important for both of these starting pitchers to last in this game for as long as they can because both of these bullpen ERAs are below average. And in fact, the Washington has the worst bullpen ERA when I looked this morning. Seeing Major is much worse versus left-handed hitters in regards to batting average off of him, small sample size, and worse versus left-handed hitters hitting home runs. His walks per nine inning average is high. It's at 4.7 walks per nine innings, but Washington ranks 26th in team walks drawn per game. So I'm not super concerned about him walking a ton of guys in this game. Let's look at Cavalli a little bit. Hasn't pitched against Miami this season. Washington has a 2-0 perfect record at home with Cavalli this season. They won one of those games by exactly 2 runs. Hasn't pitched against Miami throughout his short career. Much worse against right-handed hitters. Batting average, small sample size. Much worse versus left-handed hitters hitting home runs off of him. Small sample size. His walks per nine inning average is not high, but his home runs per nine inning average is. It's at 2.2. I'm not going to be talking about home runs in this game, but if you like a home run hitter for Miami today, I could see it happening. Just because Cavalli's home runs per nine inning average is at 2.2. But how much data do we really have to work with here? He's only faced 62 left-handed batters this season, and then 53 right-handed batters. So not a huge sample size, but it's something, right? So let's look at these the base stealing and whatnot. I think Washington does have a significant base stealing advantage in this game. Miami ranks they allow the most stolen bases per game this season. Washington ranks eighth in stolen bases per game, so they're above average in that category. Um, both of these guys' net bases prevented number is the same. It's at 1. So I will give Washington a base stealing advantage in this game. There's two things that I don't like about Washington. One is that they have the worst bullpen ERA in baseball, but another thing is that they're only 1-10, and I cannot get behind a trend like that. They're 1-10 on the run line as a home favorite. I mean, really, it's Miami or nobody for me, just based on that alone. Uh, but everything else, kind of makes me like Washington. The number of bats that they have in regards to batting average against right-handed pitching versus Miami's batting average against right-handed pitching, I like Washington's more. Um, the line is close. If Washington stays as a home favorite, I like Miami plus 1.5 as of right now. If Washington stays as home favorite, but if Miami becomes the favorite, I like Washington plus 1.5. So I suppose whoever's the underdog in this game before first pitch, and different books can have different stuff, uh, but hopefully it's pretty much the same across the board. It yeah, I can't get behind a team that is 1-10 on the run line as a home favorite. It's- That's what does it for me. Okay, Seattle and Tampa Bay. A lot of close lines today. I'm seeing this line's pretty close when I checked this morning. Seattle and Tampa Bay. Seattle's technically favored. Road favorites. Tampa Bay as a home dog. Seattle, after a loss, ranks 28th on that run line. Tampa Bay, after a win, ranks 14th. Pretty sure Tampa Bay smacked them around pretty good last night. Let's look at the run line trend real quick. As an away favorite, Seattle is 30, 29, 28, 26. They rank 26 in baseball. And then Tampa Bay as a home underdog is the worst team in baseball on that run line. So Wu and Rasmussen are the projected pitchers in this game. Both are right-handed pitchers. Wu pitched versus Tampa Bay a little less than a month ago, and Seattle won that game 6-3. He allowed 7 hits through 6 innings pitched, 3 earned runs, 1 home run, 1 walk, 9 strikeouts. If you like strikeout props, we're thinking about taking Wu today. He did have 9 strikeouts against this team earlier this season. Now Seattle does have a 5-9 win-loss record on the road with Wu. They won only 3 of those games, 3 out of 5 by 5+ runs. The other two they only won by 1 run, exactly 1 run. And then they've been keeping it close. Seattle with Wu on the road, they lost. As we just mentioned, Seattle's 5-9 on the road with Wu. Well, only three of the games that they lost by 2+ runs. So they've lost 6 out of 9 games on the road by exactly 1 run with Wu. Seattle's 1-1 against Tampa Bay when Wu has pitched against them throughout his career. His average pitch count's been 93. Both of these bullpen ERAs are pretty similar. They are above average as well. Tampa Bay ranks 8th, Seattle ranks 11th. So just in that regard, Tampa Bay has a slight advantage. Seeing that, I'm not going to talk about home, or am I? I may have to talk about home runs in this game because this is a good home run park, from my understanding, for right-handed specifically right-handed hitters. Um, and Wu is worse against right-handed hitters hitting home runs. His home runs per nine inning average is at 1.3, so it's not the worst, not the best, but I think he could allow a home run or two here. Whenever I'm picking a home run hitter, though, I kind of want to go with a bullpen that's also bad because if my home run hitter doesn't get a home run, against that starting pitcher, I like it to, give me a chance there at the end to possibly catch one. I think when you're going up against tough bullpen ERAs, that's a tall task. Overall, personally, I don't like home run props a whole lot, but I do like to talk about them. Okay, so let's see, who on this team for Tampa Bay Rays is good against the 47% used four seam fastball by Wu. So, I mean, as a Tampa Bay hitter, more than likely, well, not more than likely, but pretty close. You know that a four seam fastball is coming your way if Wu's on the mound. Just based on his percentage, 47% of the time he's throwing that pitch. Yandy Diaz slugging 738 off of that pitch. And I think this is the top ballpark for right-handed hitters, if I'm not mistaken. Let me go look again real quick. Um, Right-handed hitters. It's the second most favorable ballpark for right-handed hitters, according to baseballsavant.com. When I filter it by rolling years one, bat side right this season. So I'm not gonna look into to batter versus pitcher history. I'm gonna try not to. I kind of do want to. Um, doesn't look like there's a whole lot of history against Wu for the Seattle batters. Okay, according to SwishAnalytics.com. Um, yeah, I'd be looking for Diaz. What about some of these other guys, real quick? Diaz, Caminero, I think it's worth a look. Slugging 667 off that four seam. Brandon Lowe, I believe he's a left-handed hitter though. Yeah, he is. So it comes back to chalk. Andy Diaz and Caminero. Who's better against that second most used pitch? Second most used pitch, 26% sinker. Is it Diaz or Caminero? Caminero slugging 500. Both of them. Well, Caminero 500, Diaz 419. The cool thing about this website that I'm looking at, this baseballsavant.com, right, is if you're following along with me and you're looking at the four seam fastball, you can click on Yandy Diaz's name and it'll tell you how many times he's home runned off that pitch. So I'm seeing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Looks like 8 times, okay, out of 558 pitches. Camanero's only seen 447 of those pitches. But I'm interested to see how many home runs Caminero has off of it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So Caminero, we talk about the slugging percentage, right? And slugging percentage only tells half the story. I want to know how many times has Caminero homered off of that specific pitch, right? So I'd have to go with Caminero as my favorite home run pick um, in this game. In this game, he has seen less pitches of that four seam fastball than Yandy Diaz, and he has done more with those pitches. He also has a higher slugging percentage. I'm not going to look into the sinker, but he does have a higher slugging percentage against the sinker than Diaz does. And then Rasmussen pitched at Seattle on 8-8, so a little less than a month ago, and Seattle won that game 3-2. 6 innings pitched, 4 hits allowed, no home runs, no earned runs, no walks, 4 strikeouts. So really, Rasmussen pitched better against Seattle than Wu pitched against Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay does have a losing record at home with Rasmussen, but they do have a better record at home with him pitching than Seattle does on the road with Wu. They're 7-8 with Rasmussen at home, and they won 5 of those games by 2+ runs. They lost 6 of the games that they did lose at home with Rasmussen. Rasmussen by 2+ runs. Teams are 2-3 against Seattle when Rasmussen has pitched against them throughout his career. Average pitch count 81 in his last 5, 73 throughout the full season. I'm seeing that this guy's worse against left-handed hitters batting average, worse against left-handed hitters hitting home runs. Net bases prevented is at -5, which if Seattle is a good base stealing team, which they are, that is a big cause for concern. Um, Seattle ranks 4th best in stolen bases per game. Tampa Bay allows the 3rd most stolen bases per game this season, and Rasmussen's net bases prevented numbers at -5. So I think Seattle, just in that regard, has a huge base stealing advantage if they were to get on base. Now, I know Tampa Bay ranks first in stolen bases per game. They are technically the better base stealing team, but Seattle's pitcher, Wu, his net bases prevented number is at 2, so he's much better at containing stolen bases just based off that number. There's some other things that you could look at, right? Just like we did with this slugging percentage. You can look even deeper into it. Just but based off that number, he is better at preventing base stealing, much better than Rasmussen. So, and then Seattle as a team, they rank 20th in stolen bases allowed per game. So they're better at base stealing prevention. Um, Overall, Tampa Bay still might be able to steal a base or two here, but I do think Seattle has a better base stealing advantage in this game. Um, Seattle, they're 3-1 against Tampa Bay this season. There's 4 batters on my radar that I'm liking for Seattle: Crawford, Josh Naylor, Rodriguez, and Suarez. Whereas Tampa Bay, I'm looking at one, two, three, four, 6 guys that have a 253 or better batting average. Um, I like the fact that Tampa Bay, their pitcher, has done better against Seattle. Now, Seattle did win both of these games that both of these pitchers had pitched against the opposing team this season. Once again, Rasmussen pitched on 8-8. Seattle won by a run. And then Wu pitched against Tampa Bay on 8-10, and Seattle won that game. But Wu allowed many more hits, and that was in Seattle. This game's in Tampa Bay. Something else that you can look at too is, you know, is Woo better or worse on the road? His ERA and WHIP is higher on the road this season than um, excuse me. And then Rasmussen, his ERA is lower at home this season. His WHIP's slightly higher, but his ERA is lower. Um, I don't like going with a team that is the worst team on the run line as a home underdog, which is Tampa Bay. But we said Seattle has a base stealing advantage, right? Seattle's proven themselves. I like their base stealing advantage. How much do I like it? Man, really, really tough game for me to call again. Um, most of them are, they don't make this stuff easy. Um, I'm gonna stick with Seattle. They're a road favorite. Seattle -1.5 would be the way I would lean towards this. If you like Tampa Bay, don't let me steer you away from it. I do like some things about Tampa Bay. I really like their batting averages, but Aranda's not projected to be in the starting lineup. I think that could be detrimental for the Tampa Bay offense. It'd be nice to see Williamson in for Seattle. He's batting 250 off of right-handed pitching, so that's a little detrimental there for Seattle. But I can't back a team that ranks 30th on the run line as a home underdog. And also, Rasmussen lost against his team lost against Seattle when he pitched earlier this year, and and Wu and the Seattle team won when they pitched versus Tampa Bay earlier this season. Yeah, Seattle -1.5. But if you wanted to go the other way, don't let me steer you away. Hopefully, I find something that I actually like. I think as of right now, the game that I feel most comfortable in would probably be probably or the Dodgers or Toronto. Toronto +1.5. Dodgers have been kind of, I would probably say Toronto +1.5. And I was on that game yesterday. I had somebody ask me about that game. I was leaning towards Cincinnati getting that win. What happened in that game? Cincinnati ended up winning somehow. It was pretty close there at the end. I think both of the teams scored 3 runs apiece in the ninth inning. I think it was. Yeah, but before all that, Cincinnati was winning the game going into the ninth inning. But yeah, probably Toronto +1.5. Okay. How many more games do we have? One, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight. All right, let's try to get through this a little quicker here. All right. These teams, Angels and Kansas City, these teams haven't played against each other this season. The Angels did have to travel, uh, and the Angels played yesterday. Who did the Angels play yesterday? Let's go take a look real quick. They lost to Houston. So then they had to go from Houston to Kansas City between then and now with a loss over their head. Now, I will say that the Angels are good after a loss on that run line. They rank third best, but Kansas City lost their last game too, and they rank second best. The Royals also have a better run line record. They rank 11th best on the run line with rest advantage, whereas the Angels rank 14th with rest disadvantage on that run line. Now, Kansas City doesn't have the best run line trend with 1 day off. They do rank 24th on the run line with 1 day off. Overall, um, Kansas City does have the best run line trend. They rank second after the loss on the run line, like I mentioned just a minute ago. And then the Angels, as a road underdog, rank 27th on that run line. I don't know too much about this Ferris guy that is the projected starting pitcher for the Angels today. Let's go see if RotoWire.com has anything about noted about this guy. They're saying that he's going to start this game against the Royals today. It's his major league debut. And that's it, looks like in the minors he's been going about 5, 6 innings. Looks like he has some strikeout potential. Now, if I remember correctly, I haven't looked at it in a long time, but I think the Royals are a very tough team to strike out. Yeah, they rank second best. um, and not striking out as a team when they're at bat. So, we don't know much about this Mitch Ferris guy making his major league debut today. What I will say is that the Royals have a significant bullpen ERA advantage. The Angels rank 28th, so third worst in bullpen ERA, and the Royals have the fourth best bullpen ERA. Lorenzen, projected starting pitcher for the Royals, hasn't pitched against the Angels this season. The Royals are 5-3 win-loss at home with Lorenzen pitching this season. They won 4 out of 5 of those games by 2+ runs. They lost every game that they lost at home with Lorenzen by 2+ runs. So 7 out of the 8 games the Royals have played in at home with Lorenzen have been decided by 2+ runs. Teams that Lorenzen has pitched for have a 4-5 win-loss record against the Angels when Lorenzen has pitched against them throughout his career. His average pitch count's been 84. Worst against left-handed batting average this season, but worst against right-handed batting average since 2023. Worst versus right-handed hitters hitting home runs. His home runs per 9 inning average is at 1.4. So, not the most favorable ballpark to hit a home run in, but if you like a right-handed Angel to hit one, I could see it. Limited information that we have to work with here. The Angels are not a very fast team. They rank 25th in stolen bases per game. And Lorenzen, excuse me, the Royals rank first in stolen bases allowed per game. So it's really tough to steal on this team. And net bases prevented, Lorenzen is at 1. So I'm not too concerned about the Angels stealing a lot of bases in this game. I'll have to lean towards the Royals here, minus 1.5. I like how Bobby Witt and Mikael Garcia, they're batting great off of left-handed pitching. 336 for Bobby, 327 for Garcia, whereas Neto and Rengifo are not batting that. They're not batting as good as those two Royals that I just mentioned off of right-handed pitching. Neto at 273, Renjifo at 254. I think if Sean Noel played, that could change my pick. He's not projected to be in that starting lineup. I don't know if he's injured or what's going on with him, but I think it is detrimental to this. I'm seeing in this article here he's yet to resume activity, so doesn't look like he'll be in this lineup today for the Angels. I don't absolutely love the Royals today, but I would definitely be leaning towards them based on the run line trend, the run line trends. Um, the fact that this Ferris guy is making his major league debut. Um, the fact that the Royals have a winning record at home with Lorenzen, 5-3, and won 4 of those 5 games by 2+ runs. There's a significant bullpen ERA advantage here for the Royals, and I think that there is a much better chance that the Royals steal more bases than the Angels today. So statistically, I'm liking the Royals here, minus that 1.5. White Sox and Minnesota. These teams are 5-5 against each other this season. The White Sox, after a win, ranked first in baseball on that run line. I was leaning towards the White Sox yesterday. I think I'm going to be doing it again to here today. Let's look into it a little bit more. Um, so the White Sox have the most favorable run line trend in this game. Minnesota, after a loss, ranks 22nd. That is the biggest run line disadvantage that I see in this game. Martin. Davis Martin is the projected pitcher here today for the White Sox, and then Woods Richardson for Minnesota. So Martin pitched at Minnesota on White Sox pitcher pitched at Minnesota on April 22nd, and Minnesota did win that game 4-2. But he did very well. 5 innings pitched, 3 hits only allowed, 3 hits, no earned runs, 0 home runs allowed, 3 walks, 3 strikeouts. He didn't pitch as good in the most recent matchup here on 8/23, but the White Sox did win that game 7-3. 5 innings pitched. Still only 5 hits allowed. Well, maybe that is getting a little too high for comfort, but 5 hits allowed, 2 earned runs, 2 home runs, 1 walk, 6 strikeouts. So I think I think it might be important, if you're interested in this game, to look at those box scores to see the similarities and differences between those two lineups that Minnesota had in those games. So, I mean, we can kind of look at it too, instead of me just telling you. So, on 4/22, 2025. Trying to find that White Sox box score versus the Twins. And then on 8/23/2025, I want to find that box score as well. Okay, so Minnesota, in the game that they won, they had France in the lineup. He's not projected to be in the lineup today for Minnesota. They had Julian in the lineup. He's not projected to be in the lineup today for Minnesota. They had Correa in the starting lineup. He's not projected to be in the lineup today for Minnesota. They had Harrison Bader. He's not projected to be in the lineup today for Minnesota. So when Minnesota did win that game, although Martin pitched even better against them that game, Minnesota did win, but it's just not the same lineup, right? Whereas in the game that he won, this lineup looks a lot more similar to what it is today. Buxton, Jeffers, Wallner, Keisha Larnick, Royce Lewis. Yeah, so it looks very similar to when the White Sox won this matchup. Um, so I would be more so looking at that on what happened more recent. But here's a bad thing, guys. I mean, we mentioned that the White Sox are the best run line team after a win, right? Well, they they have a 1-9 win loss record on the road with Martin pitching, so that's terrible. Um, they did lose 66.66% of those games by 2+ runs. The ones that they did lose on the road, so they lost 6 of those games out of the 9 by 2+ runs. Minnesota, uh, they can possibly steal some bases today. I'm not going to be looking into home runs, but what I am seeing is that Martin's worst against left-handed hitters hitting home runs, and he's averaging his home runs per 9 inning average is 1.5, which is getting high. On the flip side, Wood Richardson's at 1.6, which is higher than Martin's. So if you like, even a White Sox today getting a home run for some reason, either team getting a home run, I could see it. I'm not going to look into it though. Um, Bullpen ERA, White Sox do have a slight advantage. They rank 18th. Minnesota ranks 24th. Woods Richardson pitched at the White Sox on April 1st, so a while ago. And Minnesota did win that game 8-3. 4 innings pitched, 5 hits, allowed 2 earned runs, 1 walk, 5 strikeouts. So looks like the White Sox did pretty decently off of him. Minnesota does have a better record at home with Woods Richardson. They're 6-3 at home and won 5 of those games by 3+ runs. Minnesota is 4-0 against the White Sox when Woods Richardson has pitched against them throughout his career. So there's some pretty crazy trends in this game. Um, Average pitch count for Woods Richardson's been 73 in his last 5, 81 throughout the season. So I do think that there is a higher probability of Minnesota going to their 24th ranked bullpen ERA before the White Sox have to utilize their 18th ranked bullpen ERA. Walks per 9 inning average is a concern here for Woods Richardson. We always look at, if somebody has a 3.5 walks per 9 inning average, that's when it raises some alarms on, is this guy going to walk a lot of guys for the opposing team? So he's at 3.9. Chicago ranks 17th in team walks drawn per game. So that's about average, a little below average. But I do think that the White Sox have a much better chance at drawing walks today than Minnesota does. Now I do think that there's a better chance for Minnesota to steal bases today if they are to get on base. But there are not a lot of batters for Minnesota that have a quality batting average against right-handed pitching. They have Larnick, who's batting 262, and Buxton, who's batting 261. All right. Chicago's not loaded with bats, but Talkman's batting 283 against right-handed pitching, and Sosa's batting 263. Um, I think this is a close game. I wouldn't be surprised to see, you know, Minnesota pull out the win. And I know the White Sox are 1-9 on the road with Martin. I'm just gonna have to lean towards the White Sox because after a win, they rank first on that run line, right? So +1.5 White Sox is what I'm leaning towards as of right now. Um, I think, overall, I think Martin's done um, a decent job. against Minnesota. Um, I like the walks advantage for the White Sox here, and I do think that the White Sox, and I like they have a slight bullpen advantage. I don't see enough advantages for Minnesota today to make me feel comfortable taking them -1.5. That's where what it really comes down to. Um, but they do have some good trends. If you like them, I don't see enough for me to keep you all, off of taking Minnesota because once again they're 4-0 against the White Sox when Woods Richardson has pitched against them throughout his career. They have a much better record at home with Woods Richardson pitching this season than the White Sox do on the road with Martin this season. You know, I'm just a little skeptical about Minnesota's offense. And that's something that we could look into as well. I mean, the numbers are going to be skewed for Minnesota because they don't have the same lineup as they did earlier this season. But at home, they're scoring 4.3 runs per game this season, and then on the road, the White Sox are scoring 3.82. These teams are 5-5 against each other this season. It's just another thing I wanted to mention, just in case I didn't mention that earlier. Um, White Sox as of late, they're averaging 4 runs per game in their last 3 games. Minnesota's averaging 5. So, um, anyways, I'm not going to get stuck on this game too long. Give me leaning towards the White Sox +1.5. All right, Atlanta and Chicago. Okay. The Cubs. I liked the Cubs yesterday. I had a guy, ask me my thoughts on that game. I was leaning towards the Cubs. They got it done by a run yesterday. Well, now, what I will say today, I don't feel as good about the Cubs simply because they rank 30th, so last on the run line after a win. Atlanta has they rank 11th on the run line after a loss and 7th on the run line as a road underdog. So I see more favorable run line trends for Atlanta in this game. Now, Wentz is the projected left-handed pitcher for Atlanta versus Chicago's Imanaga. So Wentz didn't start any games against Chicago this season, but he's pitched against them in 3 different games. All of them, but 2 of them he was with Pittsburgh. One of those games he was with Minnesota. Okay, so when he was with Chicago, and he didn't really pitch that much against the Cubs. Okay, so 0.1 innings pitched, 1.2 innings pitched, and then 1.0 innings pitched. Um, he surrendered 1 earned run in 2 of the games where he pitched 1 inning or more. In the game where he pitched 0.1 innings, he did allow two hits and 2 earned runs as well. So, um, looks like the Cubs have been batting pretty decently off of him. The Braves do have a 3-2 win-loss record on the road with Wentz. They won 2 of those games by 9+ runs. The one game that they did lose on the road with Wentz, or excuse me, 1 out of the 2 games that they did lose on the road with Wentz, they lost by exactly 5 runs. Teams are 2-3 against the Cubs when Wentz has pitched against them throughout his career. His average pitch count has been only 41 this season, but it's been 91 in his last 5. So they're really trying to turn this guy into a starter. And I want to just see if RotoWire has anything noted about Joey Wentz today. Maybe let's see here. Yeah, I mean, I don't see any reason why Wentz doesn't, you know, try to get that pitch count high again here today. His pitch count has been in the 90s in his last 4 out of 6 games, almost 5 out of 6. So his pitch count's getting up there. Now he's worst against left-handed hitters in regards to batting average allowed. Worst against right-handed hitters hitting home runs off of him. His walks per 9 inning average is a cause for concern. Okay, so there's two huge advantages here for the Cubs today, and I think I'm probably going to have to lean towards the Cubs again, even though they rank 30th on the run line after a win. I don't know what the ML is, but I'd maybe be looking at that more than the run line. But look, man, Joey Wentz, his walks per 9 inning average is at 4.1, and the Cubs rank 7th in team walks drawn per game. So not only is Wentz walking a lot of guys, but the Cubs are good at drawing walks. Also, the Cubs are a great base stealing team. They rank third in stolen bases per game. Atlanta not only ranks fourth worst in stolen bases allowed per game, but Joey Wentz is particularly bad at allowing base runners to advance on him through stolen bases and things of that nature. So I think those are two huge advantages for the Cubs that I see here. Those are bigger advantages that I've seen pretty much for any team today um, throughout this show. I'm seeing 5 guys for the Cubs who I'm liking in regards to batting average against left-handed pitching versus 3 bats against the left-handed Imanaga for the Atlanta Braves. I think if you like Atlanta today, I'd be looking at that starting lineup to see if Baldwin was in. I don't know if he's gotten injured or what the deal is there, but when I looked earlier, Baldwin was not in that projected starting lineup. And if he's out, I think that's very very detrimental for this Atlanta offense because he's batting 333 against left-handed pitching. The next best guy is Jurickson Profar at 290. So. And then when I'm looking over on the other side, Horner batting 351, Swanson 296 against the left-handed pitching. So, um, anyways, Imanaga hasn't pitched against Atlanta this season. The Cubs are 5-4 at home with Imanaga pitching. They won 3 of those games by 2+ runs. They lost every game that the Cubs have lost at home with Imanaga pitching. They lost those games by 3+ runs. Chicago has a 0-1 record against Atlanta when Imanaga has pitched against them throughout his career. 92 has been his average pitch count in his last 5. I'm seeing that he's much worse against right-handed hitters batting average and much worse against right-handed hitters hitting home runs. He's also allowing 1.6 home runs per 9 innings, which is much higher than Joey Wentz. So I think this is a favorable ballpark for. I forget if it's left-handed or right-handed hitters. Let me see real quick. It ranks ninth best for right-handed hitters hitting home runs. So if you do like, you know, a right-handed hitter today, the first guy I'd be looking at is Profar. I believe he's a switch hitter, but he should be batting right today. Um, I just don't know how he bats against left-handed pitching and all that. Now I know he has a good batting average, but like home runs and stuff, which I would think he bats better off of. Oh yeah, he has. Yeah, he's better against. Um, oh, looks like he's better against right-handed pitchers instead of lefties in regards to home runs. But that would be the first guy I'd probably look towards for this Atlanta team. Um, Now, Atlanta's very good at drawing walks as well, but just not as good of a matchup against Imanaga, who's only allowing 1.7 walks per 9 innings, than Joey Wentz's 4.1 with the Cubs. But the Cubs have a better bullpen ERA. I'd give the Cubs a very big base stealing advantage in this game. Atlanta not only uh, is a bad base stealing team, but the Cubs are good at base stealing prevention. So even though the Cubs rank 30th on the run line after a win, I'm going to lean towards the Cubs -1.5 here. Um, but I understand why you may be a little skeptical about that. I'm seeing that money line is kind of juiced up a little bit, so it just kind of depends on what kind of price you're willing to pay. But that's just the way I would lean in this one. Once again, two big advantages I see here for the Cubs. One is drawing walks, and the other is stealing bases. And I also think they just have a better opportunity to hit the ball. Okay, so we got 5 games here. Athletics versus the Cardinals. Line is close. I'm gonna try to keep this under 2 hours. We're at 1 hour and 36 minutes. All right. So the Athletics are 1-0 against St. Louis this season. This line was close yet again, much like every game today. So let me look real quick at what the line is telling me here. Well, I'm not reading the line, but I'm seeing Cardinals as a very, very slight home favorite. I'm not gonna. Well, let's look real quick. Home favorite. St. Louis as a home favorite on the run line. St. Louis is fifth worst, whereas Athletics as a road dog are slightly below average. But let's say that the Athletics become the away favorite. Or maybe in your book they are, or maybe you just don't even care about the run line. But let's say that the Athletics become the road favorite. They're the best team in baseball on that run line. Whereas as a home underdog, the St. Louis Cardinals are above average. But I think either way you look at it, it's advantageous for the Athletics. Yeah, on that run line. So, anyways, Severino versus Michaelas is the projected starting matchup for these pitchers today. Severino, projected pitcher for the Athletics, right-handed pitcher, hasn't pitched against St. Louis this season. The Athletics have a 6-5 record on the road with Severino and won every single one of those games by 2+ runs. They lost 4 out of the 5 games on the road with Severino by 2+ runs. So what is that? 6 plus 4, 10 out of the 11 games that the Athletics have played on the road with Severino. Um, 10 out of the 11 games were decided by 2+ runs. Teams are 0-1 against St. Louis when Severino has pitched against them throughout his career. Average pitch count has been 97 this season and the last 5 games for Severino. And I think it's extremely important for him to reach that pitch count here today because the Athletics rank 27th in bullpen ERA. Um, don't want Severino coming out and exposing this 27th ranked Athletics bullpen ERA early, right? I'm seeing that he's worse against left-handed hitters in regards to batting average allowed. He's about the same against lefties and righties in regards to home runs allowed, but he is worse against left-handed hitters hitting home runs against him since 2023. His walks per 9 inning average, his home runs per 9 inning average is not a cause for concern. Um, Net bases prevented mark is good. St. Louis also isn't the most speedy team, but in case they tried to today, Severino looks like he does a great job at containing that. I would probably give the Athletics a very slight base stealing advantage simply because Michaelis's net bases prevented mark is at -2. Although St. Louis is technically the better base stealing team, I think there's a better chance for the Athletics to steal a base here today. But St. Louis has a similar record at home with Michaelis as the Athletics do on the road with Severino. St. Louis is 7-6 win loss record, not run line, win loss record at home with Michaelis. They won 4 of those games by 3+ runs and lost 4 of those games by 2+ runs. He hasn't pitched against the Athletics since they've moved, but teams are 1-1 win loss record against Oakland when Michaelis has pitched against them throughout his career. 76 has been his average pitch count in his last 5 games. So I do think that there is a better chance that St. Louis has to use their bullpen earlier than the Athletics do today. However, St. Louis has a much better bullpen ERA. They rank 6th best in baseball. Worst against left-handed hitters batting average, worst against left-handed hitters hitting home runs. So honestly, guys, if I were picking any props in this game, batter props or something like of that nature, I'd be looking for left-handed hitters to hit home runs. One moment, please. Okay, thanks for your patience, everybody. I'm gonna have to kind of speed run through this a little bit here. If you like athletics player hitting a home run off of Michaelis, his home runs per 9 inning average is at 1.7. I see more projected bats today for the Athletics in regards to batting average against right-handed pitching that I like more than the batting projected bats for St. Louis. I'd be really looking to see if St. Louis is playing Donovan and or Burleson today. I don't see any of those guys in the projected lineup, which is detrimental for St. Louis. Um, Without those guys, man, the Athletics have 3 other guys with better batting averages against right-handed pitching than the Cardinals do. Kurtz, Wilson, and Soderstrom. Anyways, I'm going to lean towards the Athletics here in this one. They're technically the underdog. Athletics plus 1.5. Moving on. Yankees and Houston. Yankees with 1 day off ranks 9th best on the run line. I think this line was close as well. So it looks like Yankees are the road favorites. So as away favorite, The Yankees are below average. Houston, as a home underdog, Houston, it ranks third best. They're 6-1 on the run line as a home dog. So just in that regard, I think Houston is in regards to run line trends, as long as they stay the home underdog, they do have the advantage there. What about if they're the home favorites? Houston is below average, nearing the bottom of the league, and then the Yankees as a road dog is looks like about average, maybe slightly above average. So just keep an eye out for that. Freed, left-handed pitcher today, is projected to pitch for the Yankees today. Pitched versus Houston on August 10th, so not too long ago. And Houston won that game 7-1. I mean, Houston did well against him. 5 innings pitched, 8 hits, 4 earned runs allowed, 1 home run, 1 walk, 3 strikeouts. Whereas Valdez pitched at New York on August 9th, and the Yankees won that game by a final score of 5-4. Looks like the Yankees did pretty decently off this guy too. 5.2 innings pitched, 8 hits, 4 earned runs, no home runs allowed, 4 walks, 1 strikeouts. What I will say is that Houston has a better record at home with Valdez than the Yankees do on the road with Freed. But Houston's 9-4 at home with Valdez, and the Yankees are 8-6 on the road with Freed. But out of those 8 games the Yankees won on the road with Freed, 7 of those games they won by 2+ runs. Houston, they've only won 3 of the games that they've won on the at home with Valdez. They've only won 3 of those games by 2+ runs. So if you do like Houston today, man, I think it's important to take that into account, that they only won 3 out of the 9 games that they won at home with Valdez by 2+ runs. Both of these teams have both teams are 2-3 against Houston with when Freed has pitched against them throughout his career, and Houston is 2-4 against the Yankees when Valdez has pitched against them throughout his career. So nothing really important there. Average pitch count is about the same. I'm seeing that Freed is worse versus right-handed hitters in regards to batting average, but much worse versus left-handed hitters hitting home runs. He's not allowing a whole lot of home runs this season. Neither of these guys are. Just based on bullpen ERA, if I'm looking for a home run hitter in this game, I'd probably be leaning towards Houston, simply because the Yankees have the 21st ranked bullpen ERA, and Houston has the 9th ranked bullpen ERA. I am seeing that Valdez is slightly worse against right-handed hitters in regard to batting average or allowed, and worse versus right-handed hitters hitting home runs. I don't see any walks per 9 inning average that is too concerning, but what I will say is that the Yankees are the best team at drawing walks in baseball. And although Valdez is not at that 3.5 threshold, he's getting close. He's at 3.1. So I do think the Yankees have a much better chance to draw some walks here today than Houston does. Now, um, in regards to base stealing advantage, I think the Yankees have a huge base stealing advantage in this game. And if I'm the Yankees, I am looking to attack those bases. Not only does Houston rank 29th, so second worst, in stolen bases allowed per game, but Valdez has a -5 net bases prevented number. So guys are really attacking the bases on him and having success. And the Yankees are above average in stolen bases per game. They rank 11th. Freed is very good at containing base runners. Um, and the Yankees as a team are very good at containing base runners. They rank 8th in stolen bases allowed per game. Houston's not a very speedy team. I'd give the Yankees an advantage in regards to not only walks drawn per game, but stolen bases. Now, I would give the Houston Astros an advantage in regard to the number of bats that have a solid batting average against left-handed pitching, more so than the Yankees. But look, man, the Yankees the number of bats, right? The number of bats that Houston has against left-handed pitching overall as a team, I like more than the Yankees. But really, the Yankees have three guys batting 320 or better against left-handed pitching. Goldschmidt 376, Bellinger 369, Judge 320. Those three guys have a better batting average against left-handed pitching than the top guy for Houston against left-handed pitching, which is Pena. So I'm gonna have to lean towards the Yankees in this one. They're technically a favorite right now. Is that right? Is that what we were just looking at? Yankees mm, minus 1.5. Okay, is the way I would be leaning towards. Um, Specifically, I really like those the net bases or the base stealing advantage for the Yankees. The potential to get some draw some walks in this game. And I like their bats against left-handed pitching. Goldschmidt, Bellinger, Judge. All right, San Francisco at Colorado. I really do got to be wrapping this up here soon. There may be a couple games that I'm not going to talk about. Um, hey, look, man, I know I'm a Rockies fan and everything, and I know the Rockies are really bad on the run line after a loss as a home underdog. There's probably a lot of things that go against the Rockies here today, but I'm going to have to lean towards the Rockies because they have five batters that are batting 258 or better against right-handed pitching. Then San Francisco, they have two bats that are batting 252 or better, or excuse me, 250 or better against left-handed pitching. So I really like the bats. I don't see this a whole lot with the Rockies, where they have a lot of bats that match up better against the hand that the opposing pitcher is pitching with than the opposing team does. Now, I'm going to run into a bunch of other information here that probably, suggests that San Francisco takes care of business here. San Francisco, Webb has pitched against the Rockies. San Francisco won that game earlier this season, 9-3. San Francisco has a much better record on the road with Webb. They're 7-6 and won six of those games by 2+ runs. Then the Rockies do at home with Freeland. They're 3-8. And they lost three of those games by, excuse me, 6 out of 8 of the games that the Rockies have lost at home with Freeland, they lost by 3+ runs. They lost five of those games by 6+ runs. So, I mean, if you like San Francisco today, I understand, but and their bullpen ERAs are just in two different worlds. San Francisco ranks second best. Colorado ranks 29th, so second worst. Um, so a lot of things going against the Rockies today, but I'm just gonna have to lean towards the Rockies plus 1.5 here, uh, because of the number of bats that they have against right-handed pitching. But don't let me steer you off of it if you really like San Francisco today. Um, but there have been times, and I don't go with the Rockies on all these shows, as many of you probably already know. I don't go with the Rockies every time just because that's my team. In fact, I try to take a step back from with my fandom and look at it objectively as much as possible. Um, but pretty much every game that I see that the Rockies play, the other team has so much more data that is favorable for them, uh, and that's the same case here today. But uh, you know, in regards to batting average, I already talked about why. You know, I'd be leaning towards the Rockies plus 1.5 here. Um, San Diego has more favorable run line trends than Baltimore. Wells, it looks like his season debut for Baltimore versus Darvish. Um, Now, teams are 0-3 against the Orioles when Darvish has pitched against them throughout his career, so that's not good. But San Diego is 3-1 at home with Darvish. They only won one of those games by exactly 5 runs. The other two games that they won at home with Darvish were by exactly 1 run. Um, his home runs per 9 inning average, Darvish's is at 1.5. So if you were thinking about a Baltimore Oriole to get a home run today, I could see that. I don't have a lot of information on Wells, but these bullpens are in two different worlds as well. San Diego first, Baltimore 25th. I don't know enough about the Wells guy, the pitcher for the Baltimore Orioles today, to make an educated decision on who has the base stealing advantage and all that and whatnot. What I will say is I do think Baltimore could steal some bases today simply because Darvish's net bases prevented number is at -2. So although San Diego does rank 10th in stolen bases allowed per game, and Baltimore's average at stolen bases per game, I do like Baltimore's chances to steal some bases a little bit more here today than I would if maybe a different pitcher was in today for San Diego. But and I see this a lot of the time with San Diego, where they just have some really good. They have really good batting averages against the pitcher that the opposing pitcher's pitching with. So I mean, there's three, four, five, six, seven, eight guys. They're loaded uh, with guys with a solid batting average against right-handed pitching in this game. Versus three projected starters today for the Orioles batting 262 or better against right-handed pitching. Um, I'm gonna have to lean towards San Diego in this one on that -1.5 run line. And let's move on to this last game, Texas and Arizona. I'm not going to look into the run lines and who's better here or there, but what I do have here is that Texas, after a win, ranks 11th on the run line. Arizona ranks 29th on the run line after a loss. Latz hasn't pitched against Arizona this season. Just limited information about Latz, this projected starting pitcher for Texas today. Um, or just maybe not projected to start, but projected to be in this game a little bit, according to rotowire.com. Um, and then Chris Matt, right-handed pitcher, hasn't pitched against Texas this season. Arizona's 1-0 at home with Chris Matt pitching, won exactly by 9 runs. 77's been his average pitch count. Uh, So I do expect Arizona to have to use that 26th ranked bullpen ERA pretty on the earlier side of things today. On the earlier, maybe around the fourth or fifth inning, sixth, probably about that fifth inning was what I would say. Texas ranks seventh on bullpen ERA. I like the number of bats that Texas has in regards to batting average and how they match up more than Arizona's. I like just there's just limited information that I have about this game. All right, I do think Arizona could steal some bases and potentially, um, or excuse me, not Arizona, Texas. I think Texas could steal some bases today, as Chrismat has that -1 net bases prevented mark. Uh, I'm torn about this game. I think Perdomo is batting. He could be a problem today for Arizona, batting 333 off left-handed pitching. Marte 261 off of left-handed pitching. Whereas for Texas, you have Smith 268, Young 257, Langford 252. Um, I guess give me Texas simply because they're they I guess give me Texas today. They rank 11th on that run line, whereas the Arizona Diamondbacks rank 29th on the run line after a loss. Texas ranks 11th on the run line after a win. But I just don't have enough information about this game yet, or the Lats, this pitcher that's projected to pitch for Texas today. Just don't have a lot of information on him. Okay, but maybe you do. Um, Yeah, I guess I would just go with Texas, right? If you like Arizona, by all means. And has Arizona all of a sudden become a kind of looks like Arizona might be the favorite in this game now. Yeah, Arizona is. So yeah, let me lean towards Texas +1.5 instead of -1.5, +1.5. All right, guys. Well, that just about does it. We got NFL football on Thursday. So I'm thinking my next show will probably be Sunday morning at 7 a.m. Eastern time to talk about Sunday's NFL games. I do like to look at data a lot, but we don't have a lot of data this year, right? With NFL, we got the preseason. Um, so a lot of the data that I'll be looking at is last year's stuff. We'll try to integrate. I think week one is tricky in the NFL, right? Really up until about week three, week four, it's tricky, but I probably will have a show on the NFL Sunday morning at 7 a.m. Eastern time. Um, Anything else that I want to talk about? No, I think that's it. I'll make an announcement on my social media pages. Good luck today, everybody. Thank you for joining the Not Move podcast, and hope you guys have a great rest of your day.